The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched my brother Jake command the room, again. Our mother's eyes sparkled with pride as he gestured animatedly, describing his latest business venture to our gathered family. I knocked back the remainder of my drink, hoping the bubbles would dull the familiar ache of being invisible. I'm Nina, the middle child of the Wallace clan, though sometimes I wonder if anyone remembers that. At 30, I've spent most of my life watching Jake's star rise while I orbit in his shadow. Nina, darling, top up my glass while you're at the bar? Mom waved her empty flute at me without breaking eye contact with Jake. I bit back a sigh and grabbed her glass, weaving through our extended family scattered across our parents' lavish living room. Make that two. My younger sister Piper appeared beside me at the bar cart. You okay? You've got that look. What look? The I'm plotting something look. The same one you had before you convinced me to help you steal Dad's car when you were 17. I managed a weak smile while pouring the champagne. Just thinking about work stuff. I might have something big in the works. Oh? Piper raised an eyebrow. Do tell. Before I could respond, Jake's voice boomed across the room. Everyone, I've got some exciting news to share soon. Something that's going to change everything. My stomach clenched. I'd been working on my agricultural technology startup idea for months, perfecting the pitch, running the numbers. I'd even mentioned some basics to Jake last week when he'd asked about my work. He'd seemed genuinely interested for once. Nina? Craig, my best friend and voice of reason, appeared in the doorway. I'd never been so grateful for his timing. He crossed the room and pulled me into a quick hug. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was hell. You're just in time for Jake's big announcement. I muttered into his shoulder. Craig pulled back and studied my face. You look like you need air. Come on. We slipped out onto the terrace, the summer evening wrapping around us like a warm blanket. Craig leaned against the railing, his dark eyes concerned. Spill it. What's eating you? Something feels off. Jake's been asking weird questions about my work lately, about the startup idea. The smart irrigation system? The one you've been developing for... Nina, Craig! Zoe, Jake's wife, stepped out onto the terrace. Her smile seemed strained. Jake's about to make his announcement. You should come inside. I shared a look with Craig before following Zoe back into the living room. Jake stood in the center, practically glowing with excitement. Mom and Dad flanked him, beaming with pride. As some of you know, I've been working on something special, Jake began. My heart rate picked up. I'm launching a new company, Wallace Agricultural Technologies. We're developing an AI-driven irrigation system that's going to revolutionize farming. The room erupted in applause, but I couldn't hear it over the roaring in my ears. My vision tunneled as Jake continued describing my idea, my research, my projections, my dream, as if it were his own. Nina? Craig's hand gripped my elbow. Breathe. I can't believe this, I whispered. He stole it. He actually stole it. Oh, honey. Mom rushed over, pulling me into a perfume-scented embrace. Isn't this wonderful? Your brother's going to be a tech pioneer. I extracted myself from her arms, fighting to keep my voice steady. Jake, can we talk for a minute? Privately? His $1,000,000 smile didn't waver. Can it wait, sis? I'm about to go over the investment structure. No, it can't wait. Jake sighed dramatically and followed me into Dad's study. The moment the door closed, I whirled on him. That's my project, my idea. How could you? Come on, Nina. We both know you didn't have the connections or resources to make this happen. He straightened his designer tie. I'm doing you a favor. The family name will benefit, and that includes you. A favor? My voice cracked. You stole my intellectual property. Prove it. His smile turned cold. Besides, Mom and Dad have already invested. The contracts are signed. Don't make this ugly, Nina. It won't end well for you. He turned and walked out, leaving me standing alone in our father's study. Through the door, I could hear Mom gushing, Jake, darling, tell everyone about the projection models. I pressed my palms against Dad's mahogany desk, trying to steady myself. A photograph caught my eye. The Wallace family portrait from last Christmas. Jake in the center, naturally, with Mom and Dad beaming beside him. Me and Piper relegated to the edges, like supporting characters in the Jake show. Craig appeared in the doorway. Need a getaway driver? I straightened up, smoothing my dress. No, I need a witness, and maybe a lawyer. That's my girl. He offered his arm. Ready to go back in there? I took a deep breath, ready to start planning. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of unanswered calls and sleepless nights. I threw myself into work at my consulting job, trying to ignore the constant stream of social media posts about Jake's revolutionary startup. Each notification felt like a knife twisting in my gut. "You need to eat something," Craig said, dropping a sandwich on my desk. I'd been hiding out in his office, using his law firm's resources to research my options. "I need to figure out how to prove this is my intellectual property." I pushed away the sandwich. "Look at this. He's already secured $3 million in seed funding." Craig pulled up a chair. "Nina, I hate to say this, but without documentation." "I have documentation." I grabbed my laptop. "Everything's here. Research, projections, the whole system design. But it's all on my personal devices. Nothing officially filed." "Which makes it your word against his." Craig's voice was gentle. "And he's got Mom and Dad's backing." My phone buzzed. Another family group chat message. Mom had shared an article about Jake's innovative vision for sustainable agriculture. I hurled my phone across the room. "Whoa!" Craig caught it before it hit the wall. "Okay, that's it. We're getting out of here. You need air and alcohol, not necessarily in that order." An hour later, we sat at our favorite bar, Craig nursing a beer while I demolished my second martini. "I just don't understand how he could do this," I said. "I mean, I know he's always been the golden child, but this?" "Speaking of golden child," Craig nodded toward the door. Jake had just walked in with a group of suits, probably investors. My brother spotted us and, to my surprise, headed our way. "Nina, just the person I wanted to see." His smile was all teeth. "I need you to stop telling people this was your idea. It's making things awkward with the investors." I stood up, steadied by Craig's hand on my arm. "Awkward? You want to talk about awkward? How about explaining to Mom and Dad that their perfect son is a thief?" Jake's smile didn't waver, but his eyes turned cold. "Be careful, sis. You're starting to sound bitter. Besides, who do you think they'll believe? The daughter who can't hold down a relationship or career path, or the son who's about to make the millions?" "Get out of here, Jake," Craig warned, standing up. "Just looking out for my little sister." Jake raised his hands in mock surrender. "Hate to see her embarrass herself." He sauntered back to his group, leaving me shaking with rage and humiliation. Craig guided me back to my seat. "I need to go home," I mumbled, grabbing my purse. "I'll call you an Uber." Back in my apartment, I collapsed onto the couch, too drained to even cry. A soft thud at my door made me jump. An envelope had been slipped underneath. Inside were printouts of email exchanges, bank statements, and what looked like corporate documents. My hands trembled as I read through them. They showed suspicious money transfers, conversations about falsified test results, and, most damning, evidence that Jake had rushed to patent my technology before announcing the company. My phone rang, displaying an unknown number. I answered cautiously. "Nina?" Zoe's voice was barely a whisper. "Did you get the envelope?" "Zoe, you sent this?" "Meet me tomorrow. The coffee shop on Madison, 10 a.m., come alone." She hung up before I could respond. I spent the night poring over the documents, my mind racing. When morning came, I arrived at the coffee shop 20 minutes early, ordering the strongest coffee they had. Zoe slipped in at exactly 10, looking over her shoulder as she hurried to my table. Her designer outfit couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. "Jake doesn't know I'm here," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "He doesn't know I found these documents either." "Why are you showing me this?" Zoe's hands twisted in her lap. "Because what he did to you was wrong, and because—" She glanced around before continuing in a lower voice. "Because the fraud goes deeper than stealing your idea. He's been falsifying test results, lying to investors. When it all comes out, and it will, everyone involved could face criminal charges. Including you? I'm not involved in the business side." She met my eyes. "But I have 2 kids, Nina. I can't let their father go to prison. If this comes out the right way, maybe we can stop things before they go too far." "The right way?" I leaned forward. "What exactly are you suggesting? Help me expose this properly, through the right channels, before he can hurt more people." She pulled out her phone, showing me a news article. 3 major farming operations have already signed contracts based on fake results. Real people could lose everything. I sat back, my coffee growing cold. "Why should I trust you? You're his wife." "Because I'm also a mother, and because I have more documents. Enough to prove everything. She stood up, dropping a business card on the table. Think about it. Call this number when you're ready to talk strategy. I watched her leave, the card burning a hole in my pocket. My phone buzzed with a text from Craig. You okay? Need backup? I looked at the documents, then at Zoe's card. Finally, I texted back, clear your schedule. We need to talk. Craig's office felt like a war room, documents spread across his desk as Zoe paced nervously by the window. The setting sun cast long shadows across the floor, marking our third hour of strategizing. These test results, Craig held up a spreadsheet. They're completely fabricated? Every single one. Zoe stopped pacing. Jake hired a team to produce the numbers investors wanted to see. The technology doesn't work nearly as well as he claims. I rubbed my temples. But my original designs were solid, Zoe finished. But Jake rushed everything to market. He cut corners, ignored safety protocols. The actual system fails about 60% of the time. Craig whistled low. That's not just fraud. That's criminal negligence. Why are you really doing this, Zoe? I had to ask. After all these years of, well, everything. Zoe sank into a chair, her perfectly manicured hands trembling slightly. 2 nights ago, I overheard Jake on the phone. He was laughing about how some family farm in Nebraska might go bankrupt because of system failures. But he didn't care as long as the stock options cleared. She pulled out her phone, showing us a photo of 2 smiling children. My kids adore their father, but I can't let them grow up thinking this is okay. That destroying people for profit is acceptable. A knock at the door made us all jump. Craig's assistant poked her head in. Mr. Bryant, your next client is here. Cancel it, Craig and I said simultaneously. No, Zoe stood up. We should stop for today. Jake's getting suspicious about my shopping trips anyway. After she left, Craig turned to me. You know this could destroy your family, right? Not just Jake, everyone. You mean like how he destroyed my career chances, my reputation? I gathered the documents into my bag. He made his choice. Nina. Craig caught my arm. Just be sure you're ready for the fallout. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, my doorbell rang. I checked the peephole to find Piper standing there, looking upset. Mom's crying, she announced as she pushed past me into the apartment. She says you're trying to sabotage Jake's company with lies. Let me guess, Jake told her that? He said you're jealous, that you're making up stories about fraud because you can't handle his success. Piper flopped onto my couch. I told him he was full of shit. I froze in the act of making tea. You did? Please, I'm not blind. I saw your presentations months ago when you left them up on your laptop at Christmas. She accepted the mug I handed her. But Nina, if you're going after Jake, you need to know what you're up against. Mom and Dad will never forgive you. They might when they see the evidence. Evidence doesn't matter. You know how they are about Jake. She set down her mug. Remember when he crashed Dad's car in high school and blamed it on you? They still believe that was your fault. My phone buzzed. A text from Zoe. Jake's planning something. Be careful. What's that about? Piper tried to peek at my screen. Nothing. I tucked the phone away. Just work stuff. Right. Piper stood up. Well, whatever you're planning, be smart about it. And maybe warn me before you drop any bombs. I'd like to be out of blast range. After she left, I called Zoe back. She answered on the first ring. Jake's meeting with the board tomorrow, she whispered. He's going to announce an expansion. 3 more states, 12 more farming operations. But the system doesn't work. I know. He's going to demonstrate a rigged prototype. Nina, these are family farms we're talking about. People's livelihoods. I could hear voices in the background on her end. I have to go, she said quickly. He's coming. But Nina, whatever we do, we have to do it fast. I spent the rest of the night reviewing the documents, making copies, building a timeline. Around dawn, my phone lit up with a news alert. Wallace Agricultural Technologies announces major expansion. Stock surges. Below was a photo of Jake and my parents at the press conference, all beaming proudly. Mom wore her best pearls, the ones she'd promised would be mine someday. My phone rang again. Craig. Turn on Channel 7, he said without preamble. Jake's face filled my TV screen as I flipped it on. Proud to announce that Wallace Agricultural Technologies will be partnering with major farming operations across the Midwest. This is just the beginning of our mission to revolutionize agriculture. He's really doing it, I whispered. Nina, Craig's voice was serious. If we're going to stop this, we need to move now. Are you ready? I looked at the photo of my family again, then at the stack of damning evidence on my coffee table. Yes, call Zoe. Tell her to bring everything she has. It's time. No going back after this, Craig warned. He didn't give me that choice when he stole my idea. I straightened my shoulders. Let's take him down. The SEC filing has to be perfect, Craig said, spreading documents across his dining room table. We'd relocated to his apartment after discovering a suspicious car parked outside my building. One mistake and Jake's lawyers will bury this. Zoe highlighted another section of the financial records. These transactions here, they're all through shell companies. Jake thinks he covered his tracks, but I found the original wire transfers. My phone buzzed. Mom again. I declined the call and added it to the growing list of ignored messages. She's not going to stop, Craig warned. Let her call. I pointed to a document. Look at this. Jake's promising investors a 90% success rate, but Zoe's internal reports show the system failed in every real-world test. A sharp knock at the door made us all freeze. Craig checked the security camera feed on his phone and relaxed. It's just Piper. My sister burst in, looking frazzled. You need to see this. She thrust her tablet at me. On the screen was an email from Jake to all family members. Dear family, I'm deeply hurt by the malicious rumors being spread about my company. I've always supported Nina, despite her struggles with professional jealousy. I'm hosting a family dinner tomorrow night to clear the air. Attendance is mandatory. Love, Jake. Professional jealousy? I threw the tablet onto the couch. He's trying to control the narrative. That's not all, Piper said. I overheard him on the phone with his lawyer. He's preparing some kind of injunction against you. Zoe's face went pale. He knows. He must have found something in my browser history. She grabbed her phone. I need to get home before... Another text lit up her screen. She showed it to us. Where are you, honey? We need to talk about Nina. Jay. Craig took charge. Zoe, go home. Act normal. Nina and I will keep working on the SEC filing. Piper... I'll go to the dinner tomorrow. Piper finished. Keep an eye on things. After they left, Craig poured us both a drink. We need to move faster. Jake's not going to wait much longer to silence you. I know. I pulled up my email. I have a contact at the Journal. If we time this right... My phone rang. An unknown number. I answered cautiously. Is this Nina? A man's voice, unfamiliar. My name is Marcus. I was an early investor in your brother's company. I put the phone on speaker. Craig leaned in. How did you get this number? Through channels. Listen carefully. I've seen the test results. The real ones. I can help you prove the fraud, but we need to meet in person. Craig shook his head violently. I ignored him. When and where? Tomorrow, noon. The cafe across from Jake's office. After he hung up, Craig exploded. It's obviously a trap. Or it's exactly what we need. I started pacing. A credible investor willing to testify? That could break this wide open. Or it could be Jake's lawyers setting you up. Craig grabbed my shoulders. Nina, think. Why would an investor suddenly reach out to you? My phone buzzed again. Zoe. Jake's been in his office for hours. He's calling everyone. Something's happening tomorrow. Don't trust anyone. I showed Craig the message. He ran his hands through his hair. Okay, new plan. I'll meet Marcus tomorrow. You stay far away from that cafe. No way. Yes way. I'm your lawyer, remember? I can claim attorney-client privilege if things go south. He started gathering documents. Meanwhile, you need to decide what you're doing about this family dinner. I hadn't planned to go, but something clicked. Actually, I think I should attend. Nina, think about it. Jake's gathering everyone to discredit me, right? But what if we use that? What if that's exactly where we drop the bomb? Craig's eyes widened. In front of the whole family? With witnesses, with emotion, where he can't control the narrative. I felt energy surging through me. We finish the SEC filing tonight. Tomorrow morning, you meet Marcus, carefully. And tomorrow night, we destroy your brother at his own dinner party? Craig actually grinned. That's either brilliant or insane. Maybe both. I grabbed my laptop. Help me write this filing. We've got work to do. We worked through the night, fueled by coffee and determination. Around dawn, another text from Zoe arrived with a photo attached. Jake's dinner guest list. My heart stopped when I saw the names. Craig, I showed him the phone. He's invited the board of directors and the major investors. Craig whistled. He's not planning to discredit you. He's planning to destroy you, in front of everyone who matters. No. I felt a cold smile spread across my face. He's giving us exactly what we need. An audience. The perfect stage for his downfall. You really want to do this, in front of your parents? I thought about Mom's pearls around her neck at Jake's press conference. About Dad's proud smile as Jake announced my stolen idea. About years of being the invisible daughter. Yes, I said firmly. It's time everyone saw the truth. Then let's make it count. Craig cracked his knuckles and turned back to the laptop. We've got 12 hours to prepare your performance of a lifetime. The cafe meeting with Marcus was exactly what Craig had feared, a setup. He texted me from his car. Jake's lawyers were waiting, tried to serve me papers. I ducked out. Be careful tonight. I paced my apartment, checking my dress in the mirror for the 100th time. The SEC filing was ready to submit with one click. The evidence was organized. Now we just needed the perfect moment. My doorbell rang. Zoe stood there, mascara smeared beneath her eyes. He knows. I pulled her inside. What do you mean? Jake found the documents, the copies I made. She collapsed onto my couch. He didn't say anything, just smiled and kissed me goodbye this morning. But I know that smile, Nina. He's going to do something terrible tonight. My phone buzzed. Craig again. SEC filing ready. Give me the signal during dinner. I'll submit and alert the press. We need to call this off, Zoe said, watching me. He's too powerful. He has too many connections. No. I sat beside her. That's exactly why we have to do this. He thinks he's untouchable. Tonight we prove him wrong. You don't understand. He's invited Senator Morrison, the state banking commissioner, all his powerful friends. She grabbed my hand. Nina, he's going to crucify you. Let him try. I squeezed her hand back. Are you with me? She wiped her eyes, smearing more mascara. The kids are at my mother's. I have nothing left to lose. She straightened her shoulders. I'm with you. The drive to my parents' house felt like heading into battle. Zoe and I had synchronized our stories, double-checked our evidence, and prepared for every contingency. But nothing could have prepared me for seeing Jake's smug face as he opened the door. My dear sisters, he said loudly, embracing us both. His whisper in my ear was ice cold. Ready to apologize? The house was packed. Board members in expensive suits mingled with family friends. Mom fluttered between groups, playing the perfect hostess. Dad stood with Senator Morrison, both laughing over glasses of scotch. Nina, Piper appeared at my elbow with a glass of wine. You came? Of course. I took the wine. Wouldn't miss it. Jake clinked his glass, gathering everyone's attention. Before dinner, I want to address the elephant in the room. My sister Nina has been making some concerning claims about my company. All eyes turned to me. I felt Zoe stiffen beside me. Claims that, while hurtful, I understand come from a place of pain. Jake's voice dripped with fake sympathy. Nina has always struggled with finding her path. When she saw my success, success? The word burst from me before I could stop it. Is that what you call theft and fraud? The room went silent. Mom's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. Nina, Dad's voice held a warning. This isn't the time. Actually, I set down my glass. This is exactly the time. Jake, why don't you tell everyone about the failed tests? About the farmers you're bankrupting? Jake's smile never wavered. I have statements from our technical team proving every test was successful. Would you like to see them, Senator? I have the real tests, Zoe suddenly spoke up. The room gasped. Jake's smile finally cracked. Honey, he said carefully, you're confused. No. Zoe's voice grew stronger. I'm not confused about the fake accounts or the fraudulent patents or how you stole Nina's original designs. Patents? The banking commissioner stepped forward. What about patents? My phone buzzed. Craig, press is outside. Ready when you are. Jake moved toward Zoe, but I stepped between them. It's over, Jake. The SEC has everything. The press has everything. Your perfect fraud is about to collapse. Mom, Jake turned to our mother. Are you going to let her destroy our family like this? Mom looked between us, her hand clutching her pearls. Nina, please. Whatever Jake did, we can work this out privately. Like we worked out the car accident? I asked quietly. Or the college fund he borrowed? Or every other time he's hurt people and gotten away with it? You ungrateful little... Jake lunged forward, but Senator Morrison caught his arm. Jake, the senator said firmly, I think you need to explain these patent allegations. Now. My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Breaking: SEC launches investigation into Wallace Agricultural Technologies amid fraud allegations. The room erupted. Board members pulled out phones. The banking commissioner headed for the door. Jake's face turned purple as he read the alert. You're dead to this family, he spat at me. No. Mom's voice cut through the chaos. She was looking at her phone, reading the evidence we'd sent to everyone in the room. Jake, what did you do? For the first time in my life, I saw my brother's perfect mask crumble completely. And as the room descended into chaos, I felt Zoe's hand slip into mine. Ready to get out of here, she whispered. I looked at my shattered family one last time. More than ready. The morning after the dinner party explosion, my apartment became a war room again. Craig sat on my couch, fielding calls from reporters. Zoe was curled in an armchair, scrolling through the endless news coverage. Piper kept bringing us coffee like it was the only thing she knew how to do. Stock's down 60%, Zoe announced, her voice hollow. Board called an emergency meeting. My phone hadn't stopped ringing since dawn. Mom, dad, aunts, uncles, family friends, all wanting explanations or hurling accusations. I'd turned it to silent after the 8th call from Mom. You should see Twitter, Piper said, showing me her screen. Wallace Tech fraud is trending. A sharp knock at the door made us all jump. Craig checked the peephole and swore. It's your parents. I'm not here, I said quickly, but Piper was already opening the door. Mom burst in like a storm cloud in designer clothes. Dad followed, looking older than I'd ever seen him. How could you? Mom's voice shook. Do you have any idea what you've done? What I've done? I stood up. What about what Jake did? Have you even looked at the evidence? Evidence that you and his wife conspired to steal? Mom shot a venomous look at Zoe. Jake told us everything. How you manipulated her, how you falsified documents. That's enough. Craig stepped forward, lawyer mode activated. Every document has been verified by independent experts. The SEC doesn't launch investigations based on falsified evidence. The SEC, Dad finally spoke, has frozen our assets. All of them. The house, the accounts, everything connected to the company. We could lose everything. Because of Jake's fraud, I said firmly, not because of me. Jake was trying to build something? Mom's voice rose hysterically. He was making us proud, and you've always been jealous, always trying to tear him down. Mrs. Wallace, Zoe stood up. I saw the fraud with my own eyes. Jake admitted it to me. He laughed about ruining farmers' lives. You shut your mouth, Mom hissed. You gold-digging little... Don't. My voice cut through the room like a blade. Don't you dare attack her for telling the truth. For once in your life, Mom, look at what your precious son really is. Nina, Dad stepped forward, his voice softer. There must be a way to fix this. To withdraw the complaints? It's too late, Craig interjected. The investigation is federal now. There's no stopping it. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Piper read it aloud. Breaking. Wallace Agricultural Technologies CEO Jake Wallace steps down amid criminal investigation. The room went silent. Mom sank onto my couch, her face ashen. He's going to jail, isn't he? Dad's question hung in the air. If he's lucky, it'll just be jail, Craig said quietly. The farmers he defrauded are filing a class action lawsuit. They want blood. Another knock at the door. This time, when Craig checked, his face went grim. Police. 2 detectives entered my apartment, their faces serious. We're looking for Zoe Wallace. Zoe stood up, trembling. That's me. We need you to come with us. Your husband has made some serious allegations about your involvement in corporate espionage. What? I stepped between them. She's the whistleblower. She helped expose the fraud. Nina, Zoe touched my arm. It's okay. Jake's desperate. Let him try. She turned to the detectives. I'll come voluntarily, but I want my lawyer present. I'll call her. Craig was already dialing. Don't say anything until she arrives. As the detectives led Zoe out, she looked back at me. Whatever happens, we did the right thing. After they left, Mom stood up, straightening her jacket. I hope you're happy, Nina. You've destroyed this family. No, Mom. Jake destroyed this family. I just exposed the truth. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is, you're no longer my daughter. Don't call us. Don't visit. You're dead to me. Mom, Piper protested, but Dad was already leading Mom out the door. When they were gone, Piper hugged me tight. They'll come around. They have to. No, I said, watching through my window as they drove away. They won't. Craig put his hand on my shoulder. You okay? No. I turned to face him. But I will be. Right now, we need to help Zoe. Jake's not going down alone. He's trying to take her with him. Already on it. Craig held up his phone. My firm's best criminal defense lawyer is meeting her at the station, and I've got reporters waiting to hear Zoe's side of the story. The truth will come out, Piper said firmly. All of it. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Jake. Hope you're ready for war, sis, because this is just the beginning. I showed the message to Craig and Piper. Bring it on, I said, deleting the message. We've got nothing left to lose. 3 days after Jake's arrest, I sat in a crowded courthouse, watching my brother being led in wearing handcuffs. Zoe had been cleared of all charges. Jake's accusations fell apart under scrutiny, but the damage to my family was complete. All rise, the bailiff called out. I stood, feeling Craig's supportive presence beside me. Across the aisle, Mom and Dad refused to look in my direction. Piper sat in the middle, Switzerland and our family's civil war. The judge, a stern-faced woman in her 60s, reviewed the charges. Multiple counts of fraud, patent infringement, criminal negligence. How does the defendant plead? Jake's lawyer stepped forward. Not guilty, Your Honor. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Behind me, I heard one of the farmers who'd lost everything mutter, Bastard. Furthermore, Jake's lawyer continued, we move to dismiss all charges. My client has evidence that his sister, Nina Wallace, orchestrated this entire situation out of personal vendetta. My blood ran cold. Craig gripped my arm. Approach the bench, the judge ordered. As the lawyers huddled with the judge, Zoe slipped into the seat next to me. Don't worry, she whispered. I've got something they don't know about. Before I could ask what she meant, the judge spoke. Motion to dismiss denied. However, I'll hear this evidence at the preliminary hearing next week. Jake turned in his seat, catching my eye. His smile was pure venom. The rest of the hearing passed in a blur of legal terms and scheduling. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Nina, did you fabricate evidence against your brother? Zoe, why did you turn on your husband? Is this a family vendetta? Craig shepherded us through the crowd to his waiting car. Once inside, Zoe pulled out her phone. Watch this, she said, playing a video. It was Jake, filmed secretly in his office, speaking to someone off camera. Of course the tests failed, but who cares? By the time anyone figures it out, we'll be rich. Nina's original design might have worked, but that would have taken years. This way is faster. When did you record this? I asked, stunned. The day before everything blew up. I knew we'd need insurance. Zoe's hands trembled. I haven't shown anyone yet, not even the police. This proves everything, Craig said. The fraud, the theft, all of it. My phone buzzed. A text from Piper. Mom and Dad want to meet. Now, the house. I showed the others. It's probably another ambush. Go, Zoe said. Craig and I will take this to the DA. End this once and for all. The drive to my parents' house felt surreal. The familiar driveway, the manicured lawn, everything looked the same, but nothing was. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Her face was streaked with tears. Is it true? She demanded. Did you really plant evidence? Jake's lawyer says, stop. Dad appeared behind her. Nina, come in. We need to talk. In the living room, Piper was already waiting. She gave me an encouraging nod. Jake called us, Dad said, sitting heavily in his armchair. He offered a deal. If you recant your testimony, admit you fabricated everything, he'll make sure we don't lose the house. Are you serious? I looked between them. You want me to lie? To protect him? To protect this family, Mom burst out. Everything we built, everything we have, is built on fraud. I stood up. On lies and theft and destroying innocent people. Nina, Piper spoke softly, show them. I pulled out my phone, playing Zoe's video. Mom collapsed onto the couch as Jake's voice filled the room, confessing everything. By now, I said, stopping the video, this is with the DA, it's over, Jake's going to prison. Dad put his head in his hands. Mom started sobbing. I know you love him, I said, my voice breaking. But he did this. Not me, not Zoe. Jake chose this. My phone buzzed. Craig. DA has the video. Arrest warrant issued for Jake's business partners. It's done. As if on cue, police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. They're coming to search the house, I realized. Dad, if you have any evidence, any documents... Dad stood up suddenly, hurrying to his study. We heard drawers opening, papers rustling. Mom, I tried one last time. Please understand. I didn't want this. She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in days. I know, she whispered, but I don't know how to stop loving him. You don't have to stop loving him, Piper said, but you need to stop excusing him. Police cars pulled up outside. Mom straightened her shoulders, wiped her eyes. I'll let them in, she said quietly. It's time to stop hiding. As she walked to the door, Piper squeezed my hand. You did it, sis. You brought down the golden child. No, I watched Mom greeting the officers, Dad emerging from his study with a box of documents. We all did it. The truth did it. My phone buzzed one final time. Zoe. Jake's being arrested again. New charges. We won. I looked around my childhood home, now swarming with federal agents. Victory had never felt so bittersweet. The verdict came down on a sunny Tuesday morning. I sat in the packed courtroom, Zoe on one side, Craig on the other, as Jake stood to face the judge. On all counts, this court finds the defendant guilty. The room erupted. Jake's shoulders slumped as the judge continued. I hereby sentence you to 12 years in federal prison, with restitution payments to be determined. I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction. Just a hollow emptiness where anger used to live. Mom sobbed quietly in the front row. Dad stared straight ahead, his face a mask. When the bailiff led Jake away, he turned to look at us one last time. The golden child's crown had finally fallen. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. Zoe stepped forward, composed and elegant despite everything. My children will know their father made terrible choices, she said clearly into the microphones, but they'll also know that standing up for truth matters more than family loyalty. In the parking lot, Mom caught up to us. Nina, wait. I turned, bracing myself, but instead of accusations, she held out a familiar velvet box. Your grandmother's pearls, she said softly. I promised them to you, remember? Before everything. Mom, I was wrong, she cut me off. About Jake, about you, about so many things. She pressed the box into my hands. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope maybe we can try again. Before I could respond, Craig rushed over with his phone. Nina, look at this. A news alert showed farmers gathering outside the courthouse. Wallace Tech Victims Launch Recovery Fund for affected families. They're using the restitution money to help other small farms, Craig explained, and they want you involved. Me? Your original design, Zoe said. They want to develop it properly this time. Do it right. I opened my laptop right there in the parking lot, showing them the files I'd kept all this time. The real innovation, the careful research, the safety protocols Jake had ignored. Dad appeared behind Mom, peering at the screen. This is remarkable, Nina. This could actually work. It will work, I said firmly, because this time we'll do it honestly. My phone buzzed. Piper, turn on the news now. The local station was interviewing Senator Morrison outside the courthouse. In light of recent events, I'm announcing legislation to protect agricultural innovations and small farming operations. We're calling it the Wallace Protection Act, named not for Jake Wallace, but for Nina Wallace, who showed us that one person's courage can change an entire industry. Mom touched my arm. Your grandmother would be proud. These pearls, they represent integrity, something I forgot somewhere along the way. We all forgot, Dad said quietly. We were so busy protecting Jake, we didn't protect what mattered. Craig cleared his throat. Speaking of protecting what matters, the farmers are waiting. They want to talk about implementing Nina's system. Go, Mom said. Build something real this time. As we walked toward the group of farmers, Zoe linked her arm through mine. Ready to change the world properly this time? Actually, I smiled, touching the pearl box in my pocket. I think I already did. Inside, the farmers greeted us with handshakes and hopeful eyes. I opened my laptop again, showing them my original designs. This time, I said, we do it together, transparently. No shortcuts. No lies, Zoe added. No betrayals, Craig echoed. I looked back at my parents, standing awkwardly by their car. Mom lifted her hand in a small wave. Dad nodded once, his eyes bright with what might have been tears. Piper joined us, grinning. So, big sister, ready to be the new face of agricultural innovation? No, I said, turning to the farmers, ready to be part of something bigger than myself, something honest. The eldest farmer, his face weathered by years under the sun, extended his hand. Welcome to the family, Nina. The real kind. I took his hand, feeling the strength in his grip. Behind me, I heard Mom's heels clicking on pavement as she walked away from the courthouse, where her son would spend the next 12 years. But ahead of me stood people who valued truth over appearance, integrity over success, right over easy. I opened my grandmother's pearl box one last time, touching the smooth spheres that represented generations of Wallace women. Let's get to work, I said, closing the box with a snap. We've got farms to save. The farmers gathered around my laptop as I began to explain my design. This time there were no shortcuts, no lies, no betrayals. Just honest innovation, hard work, and the kind of family you choose, rather than the one you're born into. And somehow, that felt like the biggest victory of all.